There you have it. After a few, shall we say, nervous moments, it is going to be Pink up at the top in second place to join one of the new franchises, the Gujarat Titans, for that coveted first and second spot. They will have a second bite, the proverbial almost second bite of the cherry to get to the grand finale in Ahmedabad. 150 for 6 never really looked like enough in their 20 overs, despite a sterling effort of 93 from Moeen Ali. And Rajasthan with 2 balls to spare, with a lot of help from Ravichandran Ashwin towards the end, and a platform set early on by young Yashasvi Jaiswal, getting there with 2 deliveries to spare, winning by 5 wickets. All they pretty much needed was the 2 points because their net run rate was already healthy. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live to look back at one of 3 games that will be critical going into the playoffs. I'm joined by Pommie Mbangwa and Harsha Bhogle. At any stage, Harsha, did you feel that the Pink was starting to be a little less bright and they were looking at third place?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, more than once. More than once, definitely. Especially when I thought Jaiswal and Padikkal were getting a little stuck. When Hetmeyer got out, I think it was an open game till the end of the 18th over. Thereafter, I just thought Ashwin played a fantastic innings. I so love the way at this age he's reinventing his bowling, he's reinventing his batting. He was not a hitter like this always. He's now playing the big shots, he's hitting tactically, he's getting the sixes when you need. He's some player, man.
Yeah, quick word. Actually, maybe Pommie, before I get you into this, we should just right at the top. We normally wait, we build it up, we try and find different contenders. But I think let's go for it at the very top, because without a doubt, with that finish fresh in our minds, Ravichandran Ashwin is our Omnigel relief and recovery performer of the match. Omnigel, India's #1 pain recovery gel brand, not only gives quick relief but also recovery from pain. No dud for a few very tense fans towards the end to ensure that they got into second place. Pommie, I'll come to you now. Already performing with the ball, occasionally promoted up the order to number 3. Today he showed that in a slightly different position, he can still deliver.
Yeah, so I've thought as he's gone along that the contributions have been good. I think what has stuck in everybody's mind is the one incident where he didn't manage to pull off what they wanted him to do and was retired out. And with that, everyone's then sort of gone, oh, it's not a good move to send Ashwin in. But if you actually look at the numbers across the season and remove that one game where he didn't quite come off, he's batted comfortably better than the runner ball. And each time he's walked in, he's played what I would call as a valuable cameo every time. And I can't think of a time when he hasn't. And today that was elongated because there was more responsibility and there was more to do. And he managed to do it. What he does particularly well, I think, and this is for all his cricket, and talks about experience and being able to read situation, is that he plays according to what's needed at the time, whether he's bowling or whether he's batting, and is able to assess and then try for what the team needs. And I think that's why he's an asset. And it's fantastic. I mean, today was absolutely brilliant, where many were struggling to hit the ball off the square, and it came down to sort of crunch time. He managed to crunch some out the ground, and that was that. I've not seen him so animated before. I mean, I think we've said this 3 or 4 times in a row in terms of consecutive days, with various players going kind of a bit further than they would normally go in their kind of emotional states. And here he is talking to himself. I think he was shouting his own name as he punched his chest, and then celebrating when they get to the score and the game's not yet won. He was standing at the non-strikers when Pati Rana pulls out that really, really good Yorker. All I was missing there was that the death rattle, because that was a good one. It was quick, 144, I think it was, and shook his head, standing there thinking, I want to get at him because I want to get this job done, sort of thing. So, yeah, passionate, skillful, and quite expertly done in the end, to one, be up for the role, and two, to execute and get it done. He's done a top job there.
What he did do after that, what Pommie just mentioned is, Harsha, he went over to Riyan Parag and said, that looks a little too hot to handle. Single, give me the strike. I'm here, I'm in charge. That's been the story of his batting, hasn't it?
Yeah, as it turned out, Tirana's bowled that wide. I was just starting to think whether, like a Malinga, and he's impressive, make no mistake, whether he's nailing 2 Yorkers and producing a super over. Briefly, the thought crossed my mind, but there's something there, definitely. And Dhoni's given him a big rap in the post-game conference saying, our Malinga is going to be very good for us next year. So I think he's got to get out of just being a Malinga. But I thought Ashwin was fantastic. It was the story of 2 finger spinners, isn't it? Moeen Ali batting the order and bowling 4 overs for 21. Ashwin finishing the game 4 overs for 28. I always think in times like these, who's the player of the match? Far too often we give it to the person from the winning side. Very difficult to look beyond Moeen Ali as player of the match today. But as far as the Royals are concerned, wow, man. I mean, you send him at 3, he gives you a 50. You send him at 5, he's delivered 40 of 23. But I think, and I'd love to check this, I think he's hit more 6s this year than he's hit before. There is that element of that game that's come into him. And it's wonderful to see that at 35 or 34, 35, I don't know how old he's, 35. He's still trying to get better. He's still giving himself 2-3 years. And I think he's putting his hand up and saying, you know what, the T20 World Cup, I'm there too.
13 4s and 9 6s for Ravichandran Ashwin. Maiden IPL 50 in this year's tournament. And Pommie, a last quick word from you on Ravichandran Ashwin. I know you were looking at that particular innings, a retired out, as a blip, but I have a feeling that even there, he played his role. He came in there, he did what he had to for that brief time, and then almost passed the baton. So even that, you probably don't look at it as a failure.
Yeah, the only thing I'm saying by describing what happened there is because post whatever it is that was required at the time of him going in, or that little period, he then gets stuck. And as we saw today, many a batter got stuck, and it can happen. Whether it happens because of the surface, whether it happens because of the situation, whatever it is, it happens to actual batters who start up at the front. They get out the power play, think they should be going, and then comes to a standstill. We didn't think 150 would be difficult to chase. But just like Chennai, they also got stuck after getting what was more than a decent start. We thought they'd win at a canter. So this kind of always happens. For some, though, they hold the labels that are given to them a bit easier, it seems, and it's easier for people to point fingers at them without necessarily analyzing closely, just kind of going with what the impression is and not what the numbers actually say. And that's my point. As you say, he might have done his job, but that's the very point of it, that there's an innings there that many will go, oh, do you remember, at the end of March, people said, he should have he retired. I mean, do we go that route? Do we not go that route? Post that, you can't argue. I can't argue, certainly.
No, we don't argue, and I think we're all unanimous that Ravichandran Ashwin was our Omnigel relief and recovery performer of the match. And as a result of that, he ensured that there was no dud for Rajasthan fans. But of course, he did have a little help along the way. He needed a bit of a platform in order to go out there and do what he did, Harsha. And right at the top, no Joss Butler. Sanju came and went. A lot on the youngster Yashasvi Jaiswal, who did not play the entire season. In, then out, then back in, and now he's not going anywhere.
I think his form is one of the biggest pluses. If you ask Rajasthan Royals about today's game, they would have said, yeah, almost perfect. Sanju Samson runs today and just got the runs back into his system. But young Jaiswal is the biggest plus for the Royals in the last 3 or 4 games, because you see the first 2 balls he hit boundaries. He can go straight away, but I think he also has the smartness in him to just hold back a little and then stay in and take the innings deep and play a little longer if that was needed. Because I think both affected by the length of their tail today. And I think at some point, both teams started to adjust their play to the fact that they didn't have a number 8 really. 8, 9, 10, 11. Trent Bolt might disagree, but he only hit his first couple of boundaries in the IPL in this year. So, yeah, that 75 is an outlier. But otherwise, if you see, they made up Rajasthan at the end what Chennai did at the top.
Yeah, the 10.68 between 16 and 20, just when they needed to up the ante slightly. They had a quiet time after the power play, but so did Chennai. But for Rajasthan, it was in a run chase, and Pommie, it was in a run chase that would have got a little tense, because suddenly they're thinking second, third. We want second. We desperately want second.
Yeah, the only way they're going to chase it, and it was always going to be kind of go the same sort of pattern in terms of trying to chase the score down, is use the power play, because the ball's hard and new. It's going to slide on field restrictions and all of that, and then see where they are after that power play. And they needed to even risk a little bit to try and make sure they're well ahead of the game, just because of what happened to Chennai, and in case it could happen to them. And so 52's good going. I think they did a decent enough job. 52, they know that having kind of got to 52, there's not a whole lot left and there's enough time in the game. It then kind of takes on the same characteristics as the Chennai innings, and that's a problem for them. And when they try to hit out of it, they lose wickets. But once you lose a couple soon after, it's essentially about having to make the decision: do you keep trying to go, or do you take the game as deep as possible by trying to sort of stay next to a run rate? I think the rate got to about 10 somewhere along the line.
More than that?
Yeah. And when it gets to 10 and people aren't able to work the ball around, that's when the pressure kicks in. That's when it gets difficult for guys who then have to walk in, and the rate is 10 in a game where you were chasing less than 8. So they did well, and that's why it makes Ashwin's innings that much better.
Yeah, certainly.
Also touch of inexperience, Pommie. Who bowled 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 for Chennai Super Kings today? Patirana, Mukesh Chowdhury, and Prashant Solanki. Between them, there's very little experience in there. So, I mean, the fact that Dhoni threw the ball to Patirana for the 20th, I mean, it's only someone like him who will say, here, take it. But look at that bowling lineup: Mukesh Chowdhury, Simarjeet Singh, Prashant Solanki, and Matisha Patirana. Who are the experienced bowlers in there? Mitch Santner and Moeen Ali. This is as inexperienced a bowling lineup as any you can see. And I thought to take it down to 2 balls left with that bowling attack was fantastic. I mean, can you imagine Patirana's going back to Sri Lanka saying, you know what, MS Dhoni gave me the death over in a big game, so pick me. I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think I don't think we should look at that and think, oh, it was just situation and had to and so forth. No, that situation is a rehearsal for a time to come. Right? It's here's a big game. Here you are as a youngster. This is the situation. Have a taste. You come out of this having won it. Then you need to remember what it is you did. Similarly, you don't win it. You need to remember how this went so that it can be some sort of reference point. And when you're going to try something else, you're trying something else because you remember how this one went this time around. It's important for his bowlers, because there's so much inexperience, to get as much learning out of competition as they can, so there's not another case of, oh, they're just learning when they turn up for next season as well.
Yeah, final thought, Harsha, for next season, because while Rajasthan are looking at the playoffs, Chennai are already looking at next season. We've talked about the season campaigners, the batsmen, the Jadeja issue, Gaikwad possibility of being a future leader. But in the bowling department, Deepak Chahar comes back. He has a few possible new partners. Someone like a Mukesh Chowdhury, even a Simarjeet Singh for you, Harsha?
Definitely. I was very impressed with Simarjeet Singh as well. You know who Simarjeet reminds me of a little bit, but he's about 5 to 10K, 5, 8Ks quicker. was Subrata Banerjee. He used to simple action, move the ball both ways. Simarjit Singh has that lovely natural away swing, little quicker than Subrata, bowling 137, 138. I think there's something about him. There's something about Mukesh Chaudhary, and Dhoni's just given both Mukesh Chaudhary and Patirana a big rap in the post-game thing. So I think Deepak Chahar coming back changes the balance of the side a little bit, with Chahar batting at 8 maybe, or even 7, 8. They'll get that additional person in there. Their problem is going to be finding another Robin, another Raidu. I think their problem is going to be up at the top. Dhoni will carry these younger bowlers along.
Yep, and of course we haven't even talked about the very typical CSK pace of international all-rounder, be it a Dwayne Pretorius, be it a DJ Bravo. Not sure about Bravo's future at the moment, but certainly that's the kind of player they look at. And of course, let's not forget Chris Jordan either. But Harsha, let's turn our attention back to Rajasthan.
Yeah, just before we turn that, yeah. I saw the power play scores there. There's 52, right? Someone said 50 something.
I wondered when you might. Charles, I was sitting over there watching. I thought, oh, we're in trouble.
So we were.
Well done, Harsha.
Well done. Yeah, there you go.
Well done, Harsha.
See the friends I have. I have to keep saying, "Come look at me. Come look at me." I tell you, the friends I have these days.
It was part of the agenda. It was part of the agenda. We were getting there. It was next after the Rajasthan postmortem. Just a final thought. Going into the playoffs, they look like they've got a settled 11. This 11 should get onto the park in Kolkata in that first match against Gujarat on the 24th. The only thing is, where are they going to find runs for Jos Buttler? Because it really, genuinely seems to have dried up second half.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think when you look at it, the plus is that others have got runs. Ideally, you want him to get runs, and you're not going to put him on the side. He's going to play again. And the hope is that, as we say when it comes to cricket, he's due some and he scores them when you most need them. It can happen that you go into playoff number 1 and he doesn't get any, but you still win that and you go to the final, and then he gets them there, right? It can happen, and you've got to go and believe in all those things as a side. That doesn't matter. One, it doesn't matter if he doesn't get them as long as we win. And number 2, if he doesn't get him in the next one, we get through somehow, he'll get him in the big one. One of these big games, he'll get him in that, and we'll be okay. So yeah, it's just one of those things. We've just been witnessing how great players, wonderful players, can go through dips for a very long time, not a short time. So this, in comparison, having already contributed through the season, he's a big part of why they get to this place and why they finish second as well. So rather than the failing part of that, we've got to accept that the 629 runs are a big reason, if not the reason, that they end up second on that log.
I'm going even further than Pommie. Yeah, I'm going even further than Pommie. I'm saying if Buttler starts to score runs again, Rajasthan Royals are actually at this stage looking like the team that's most likely to go all the way. I mean, yeah, the Gujarat Titans, I mean, you can't, what they've done this year is remarkable. But Rajasthan Royals, if Buttler starts to fire, given the fact that Sanju's getting some runs, Yashasvi Jaiswal is back, Ashwin is looking better, Chahal is bowling beautifully, Obed complete the bowling. I just think it's starting to look more and more complete. With the only problem, they don't have that number 8, but they're still looking pretty good. But you look down that list that you just had 600 runs, and then you look at the next 2, which is LSG, who've just gone to number 3. Their openers have given them 500 plus runs each.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously Lucknow are not going to be playing on that first day in Kolkata. They're going to be playing day 2. We don't know who their opponents are going to be, but purely it's stark difference in terms of Buttler going into the playoffs versus, say, a Quinton de Kock going into the playoffs fresh with runs just sitting on his shoulder and every part of his body. But
yeah, there's something that's particularly, and we talk about this all the time when it comes to this stage, and it's the importance of finishing first or second. And The reason for that being the number of games you've got to play and win in order to win the whole thing. So because you've played, and come first or second, it makes a big difference to you finishing third. What's it? You could have a scenario where you play 2 games in 5 days, or you could have to play 3 games in 5 days. That's a big difference. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. If you win your first playoff, you're playing 25th and 29th. 24th and 29th. Otherwise, Correct. You're playing 25th, 27th, 29th with a travel day in between.
It's very difficult.
The team that loses the first one will then travel, play again on the 27th. They win that, they again play on the 29th.
Yep. So just to recap that, we now know game number 1 is going to be Gujarat v Rajasthan. And just for the moment, we'll pick the team who have topped the table. Gujarat win. They go to Gujarat, as into Ahmedabad, and sit and wait for everybody else to come. Rajasthan, on the other hand, also travel, but they travel for a quick game for the winner of the other Kolkata game between Lucknow and a team we don't know yet. And then those two clash, with Rajasthan having just played, and go on to meet Gujarat, who are then sitting and waiting for the winner of that second eliminator, or Q2 is what we call it. But as we said, quick look at the points table. We've got everything decided bar one spot up for grabs on the penultimate day of the league stage. 3 Qs have been given out: Gujarat, Rajasthan, Lucknow. Bangalore on the verge, Delhi on the verge. Either of them can get in there. It's pretty much a knockout. Delhi get in, Bangalore have finished what their work is. If Delhi win against Mumbai, that's done and dusted. They are through. What's the game coming up? Once again, it's a team who are on the verge versus a team who have no chance of getting there but could be spoiling their party. Match number 69, penultimate game of the league stage, Mumbai versus Delhi. Harsha, a little similar to the Rajasthan-Chennai game in the sense of one team needing the win for a particular position, the other team just playing to spoil it. How do you see Mumbai versus Delhi in this?
And the other team looking further ahead. One team is looking, win now, stay in the competition, let's look 2 days ahead. The other team is saying, let's see what we can eke out of this game to look at 10 months later. We don't know if Archer is going to come back. Will one of our quicks do well? Can Riley Meredith earn himself another spot? Is Sam's doing enough to stay in there? Can we get another big one from Tim David? I read some reports that he may not be around. I don't know how trustworthy those are. But for Mumbai, it's a bit like that. Can we try Sanjay Yadav in one more game and see if he gives us that Krunal Pandya role that we were hoping for? So Mumbai is looking at it from that point of view. But hang on, don't forget, Rohit Sharma doesn't want to end the tournament like that. Ishan Kishan doesn't want to end it like that. So they want to come back and do well. I just wonder if they'll give Tristan Stubbs another game. Are they going to look at Tilak Varma, somebody at 3, and get Brevis back in again? Stubbs has had 2 goes. I think one of the big pluses is see how Ramandeep bowls. Ramandeep bats, because he looks perfectly capable of giving you 2 overs every game. And if he can bat and become that 6 or 7, so they might just find the player they're missing the most, which is Hardik Pandya. Ramandeep is not going to be a Hardik Pandya bowler, not yet. He could. I mean, it doesn't look like at the moment, but he could. But if he can bat at 6 and give you those 2 overs, 6, 7, give you those 2 overs, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, Tim David, by all accounts, looks like it's going to be another little daddy trip like it was for Shimron Hetmeyer. So in all likelihood, Tim David is not going to be part of it after a great contribution last time around. Pommie, what?
Karen Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard. Yeah, well, there you go.
Pollard comes back.
Is one. What about Deval Brevis for you, Pommie? I mean, he didn't seem to have been doing too much wrong to be on the sidelines.
No, this competition's about trying to balance, isn't it? You're always trying to balance your side out. And he, I think, became sort of a victim of that, and that they were okay up at the top. 1, 2, and 3, they kind of knew who they wanted there, and that's where they wanted him to bat. So 1, 2, or 3 is where he'll bat. He'd walk in at 3 each time. And then further down is where Tim David, Karen Pollard, that's where they're going to play. And then you want your bowler and Daniel Sams, who's been kind of going okay as well. So That's why he lost his place. They could come back to him. And instead of go back to a Kieran Pollard, they might play both Stubbs and Brevis. You never know. Say, right, here you go. Have a chance. With Stubbs, a couple of goals, and what he got run out, and then it's really nobody's seen anything at all. And that's the nature of the game, isn't it? It's the nature of cricket that sometimes you're not out there long enough for anybody to know whether you're in form or you're not in form at all. And that can go on for a period of time. They invested some time in him this time round as a replacement. So they might as well have another good look, and then they can make some sort of a decision, because I say there'd be more of a body of work, but one more innings might be the innings where he plays a good one and then changes your mind. Because right now, it'd still be whatever they got from their scouting that would say, yeah, we kind of have to try and hold on to this guy, and maybe what they've seen him do in the nets rather than in the game.
Yeah, Jofra Archer also has been ruled out with the English summer, so they'll all be fingers crossed that 10 months down the line, he's fit and raring to go to lead that attack, or at least be there along with the likes of Jasprit Bumrah.
You've got to feel sorry for him. I mean, gee whiz. My heart breaks, man, because how this guy is an absolute superstar. You'd pay money to watch him, Jofra Archer. Oh, forget watching at Dubai and him running up, and it was Rajasthan, wasn't it? Every single time he bowled, you just thought, right, everybody stop, everybody sit down, now you watch, because this is some fire here. And then just disappeared because he just keeps getting injured. Never mind turning out for Rajasthan, never mind turning out for Mumbai Indians, who have bought him despite knowing that he wasn't turning up and was injured. Now can't turn out for England, can't turn out for anyone. The guy sitting on the side can't do what he loves best, can't do what he's good at. It must be really difficult. And he's going to need as much support from around him, from his people, to say, keep him up, keep his chin up, keep him going, and trying to get back better, to get back on the park again.
Harsha, no reason to be resting anybody else, really, from the top guns. Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan, Tilak Verma, they all need to be up there firing, get a win under the belt.
No, not at all. This is a story of Delhi. Everything is about Delhi in this game. We've talked a little bit about Mumbai, but this game is really about Delhi. Can Sarfaraz get another go? Is Prithvi Shaw fit to come back and play? Typhoid is not something you recover from very easily, right? If that's what he indeed had. I read some reports that he had typhoid. So if he's going to be able to come back, does he have the strength? Do they try Sarfaraz again? But if Mitch Marsh strikes form, Rovman Powell towards the end of the innings, I know they've been carrying Lalit Yadav for a long time now because he can give a little bit more too. But this really is about Delhi. Akshar's had some good games. Shardul's had a sort of quiet year, but they've got the team, Delhi. And I mean, all of Bangalore will be sitting and be very well behaved and nice and sitting and cheering Mumbai along, So it's going to be a very tense match, but you've got to back Delhi.
Mumbai have a big army, Pommie, who support them. But imagine the weight of two cities going behind you. They'll be screaming from this.
Yeah, true. Let's
from Bangalore to support Mumbai.
It'd be very interesting tomorrow. I think it'd be a good game. It'd be charged up, that's for sure, just because of all of that. I feel for Delhi because, just like Harsha says, here we're talking about Prithvi Shaw, a guy got typhoid. Here saying Mitch Marsh hits form. He came into the squad late, and then he gets COVID, and he walks out to bat. You can tell that problem. He's just not getting the ball off the square, trying to hit it as hard as just nothing is working. Then the coach gets COVID. There's just so much. Then there was that incident at Wankhede. Everything. It just seems
Nokia comes late.
Anything that could happen.
Khalil injury.
It's just like. And so I feel for them. And if they can gather, galvanize, and come together. And in speaking to Ricky Ponting, he said these sort of things tend to kind of bring a squad together, and the guys have regrouped. Marsh is back, and man, he's looking imperious. He's a big unit anyway, but he's looking imperious when he walks in, and it doesn't matter if it's first ball, third ball, 15th ball, pumps it out the ground. So if he can do something, and we don't have to talk about the other players because their players are quite good. I mean, Rishabh himself is amazing player, and perhaps we'll see something substantial from him as well when the team need it now as they get to the business end. They've got the tools, that's for sure. It's just whether they turn up, not just tomorrow, but if they turn up tomorrow, can they turn up in the others as well if they get into the playoffs?
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you one change they can make, Gautam.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one change they can make. Because Mitch Marsh has started bowling well. He gave you 3 overs the other day. You've got 5 bowlers straight away, assuming Shardul bowls his quota of overs. You've got Shardul, Akshar, Kuldeep, Nokia, and Khalil. You've got your 5 bowlers there already, but Marsh bowled you 3 the other day. He's perfectly capable of giving you that you don't need to play Lalit Yadav. I know they've carried him for a long time, hoping he'll do something, but Sarfaraz looked interesting the other day, didn't he? So why don't you play Sarfaraz for Lalit Yadav, and you've got the overs from Mitch Marsh to as a buffer for in case one of the bowlers has a bad day. And I just think Sarfaraz is batting better than Lalit Yadav.
But Harsha, you're saying that on the assumption that Prithvi Shaw comes back?
On the assumption that Prithvi Shaw is going to play, yeah.
Well, we're hearing that he's still not recovered in time for
I'd be
tomorrow's
surprised.
game.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised
if he plays.
Yeah.
So on that assumption, Sarfaraz stays up the top and Lalit Yadav keeps his place.
But Pommie's point is so valid. Are Delhi a settled side still? Warner came late. Mitch Marsh came late. Then he fell sick. Then he got back. Heinrich Nokia, retained player, came in late. I think Akshar tested positive as well. Did he? He missed a couple of games. Akshar did in between. Khalil had an injury. So it's never really been a settled side, Delhi. And they must be hoping, look, let's just, for this game, let's just get everybody together and play our A team. Because that A team, believe me, is a seriously good A team, Delhi.
They've got a good squad. They've got to look at the guys who haven't played a lot. Mustafizur hasn't played a lot. Lungin Giti hasn't played a lot. Tim Seifert hasn't played at all. It's a good squad, and essentially it's about trying to get the right 11 onto the park. That's been a problem for them, not necessarily because they don't know which 11 to get on, but because many of the changes that they've had to make have not been tactical at all. They've just been all forced changes that, this guy's not well, that guy's not. So they've not had an opportunity to kind of think tactically. They're kind of looking and saying, who's fit? And whoever is fit, let's fill in and let's see how we go. And let's try and respond accordingly, as in positively, and win some games. So yeah, kudos to them for still be standing at this point. But in a time to come, nobody is going to remember the fact that they had all these things that had gone on. They just say it didn't play well enough if they don't get there,
Well,
at least they've got a coach who's, they don't have to look for a coach next year.
Well, it'll be an uncomfortable time, all we can say, for Bangalore, because they have no way to do it out on the park. They've done their bit. They've got to where they need to get, which is to 16 points. It's the maximum they could have got. Delhi are sitting on 14. They know their net run rate is already way ahead, so they win the match by even 1 wicket or by 1 run. They are through in 4th place.
There's also a little matter of number 6, 7, and 8 to be sorted out. Not tomorrow, obviously. I'm just saying.
I've just got a thought, Pommie. I'm thinking Lucknow are number 3. They've got to play the team that finishes number 4. You look at that RCB side. Do Lucknow want to play RCB, or do they want to play Delhi? I'm looking at there's a lot of match winners in that RCB team,
I don't know if you want to play Delhi or RCB.
Either of them. Yeah.
I think you're getting a tough one regardless. That's why you wanted to finish first or second.
I'm just thinking Virat Kohli in form is a match winner. Glenn Maxwell is a match winner. There's so many match winners in that Bangalore side. I know Delhi have two, let's be fair.
Both sides, Harsh. Both sides, Harsh.
I don't know.
They're two top sides, RCB and Delhi Capitals.
Problem, Harsha, is that all those match winners you just mentioned will be sitting with this in their hand and not a cricket bat or a ball. They will have no role to play after this except watch, hope, pray, and cheer for Mumbai. That is what it's come down to. But at least it's come down to the penultimate league stage game for us to decide the top four. We only have one dead rubber as far as getting to the top four is concerned. For Joy, well, it's never a dead rubber. It's always a live question. What is our question of the day? And here is a quick reminder. We tried to go in a certain direction. A.B. de Villiers, Jacques Rudolph, Neil Wagner, and Kruger van Wyk were the first four. Which player in this tournament was the fifth? Pommie!
Yeah, I got it right, didn't I? I have an advantage.
But use your advantage. That's fine.
Yeah, that generally you want to use your advantage. I know that all of those guys went to the same school. That's the first part. And the next guy who went to that school is Faf du Plessis.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's that?
So it's the
Afrikaanse Hoër Swine School.
Hoër Swine School. Come on, give us
Pommie.
They call it Affies. That's what it's called.
Affies.
No, don't take an easy way out.
Afrikaans Hoër School. That's what it's
Thank
called.
you.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
But yeah, Affies.
All right, the Affies. There you go. Who got the Affies right? It maybe wasn't one of those you could get in 5 seconds flat. So Suryan Sethia, he's been there before, and he's picked up this one, an international question all the way from South Africa. Okay, since we're on the subject of pronunciations, help us out with this one, Pommie. The new name for Port Elizabeth.
Cricbuzz.
One more time.
Cricbuzz.
Harsha, go for it.
Did you click?
He did. Without the click, it doesn't come.
Because I'm pretty good at getting names, but remember my old friend Peter Battala? I just can't get. And he would keep clicking his tongue. I can't click the tongue to get the
sorry.
sound
We'd
in
have
between.
to sit all together. I can't wait till Cricbuzz is like in our usual studios, and then I can teach you, right? Like Cricbuzz. To me, it comes quite easily. It's not even an effort to do it. Well, and so I don't really know how to say to you, you got to do whatever. Perhaps if we're sitting next to each other and I can say Cricbuzz and you're watching me,
Right.
Yeah.
The things we do. Yeah, there it is.
So,
For those of you wondering what we're on about, the name of Port Elizabeth has been changed, and we can't even say give us your thoughts on that on hashtag Cricbuzz Live, because unless you send us audio clips, and we'll give a prize to the best person who can pronounce it with a click. How about that? We've just thrown out a little brand new competition on the spur of the moment. Probably the kind of unexpected things you might even find on Cricbuzz Plus. Subscribe to it. You'll find all sorts of interviews, extras, and of course, Retro Reels. Brand new episode is up there. And when it comes to the weekend, there's also a match party to watch along with. Well, that's all we have from Pommie Mbangwa, Harsha Bhogle, and myself on Cricbuzz Live. Big game coming up on Saturday night, and that is going to decide whether it's Delhi or Bengaluru who get into the Final Four. That's all on Cricbuzz Live.